Welcome back to ZNGP Today. With a 120-point cushion at the halfway mark of 2025, Marc Marquez is redefining dominance, yet he insists it all comes down to unfiltered instinct. In a candid new DAZN interview, the six-time Premier Class champion reflected on his rookie-era rivalries, his unorthodox approach, and how he turns criticism into fuel. In the eye of a storm that rattled the MotoGP paddock this summer, reigning world champion Jorge Martin is breaking his silence. After weeks of legal wrangling and social media backlash over his failed attempt to exit Aprilia early, the Spaniard has returned to racing, and to questions about whether public opinion has turned against him. With Liberty Media's acquisition of MotoGP fresh in the record books, the idea of a combined MotoGP and F1 weekend has resurfaced, an ambitious concept that Dorna's sporting chief Carlos Ezpeleta refuses to dismiss. In a candid Speedweek interview, Ezpeleta outlined the opportunities and obstacles of sharing circuits, fanbases, and even air fences, while emphasizing that authenticity and audience appetite remain paramount. Once world champions with Fabio Quartararo in 2021, Yamaha has endured a painful fall from grace in recent seasons. But behind the scenes, a monumental shift is underway, one that team boss Paolo Pavizio admits is complex, yet essential if Yamaha wants to return to the front of the MotoGP grid. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. From his sensational 2013 debut, Marquez made friends fast, and rivals even faster. Dani Pedrosa, Jorge Lorenzo, and Valentino Rossi all felt the bite of his aggressive, fearless style. I had my share with Pedrosa, with Lorenzo. I had my share with Valentino. When you arrive at 20 years old, it's easy for statements to affect you. But they didn't, because I rode by instinct, and I still ride by instinct. Marc Marquez statement. Marquez credits his refusal to overthink, even amid MotoGP's biggest egos, with allowing him to race freely and seize opportunities others might hesitate to take. Unlike many stars who rehearse podium interviews or choreograph celebrations, Marquez admits he winged it from day one. The interviews, the celebrations, by instinct, because I don't like to prepare anything. That spontaneity extends to his riding style. Aggressive entries, last gasp overtakes, and split-second adjustments, moves impossible to script, yet perfectly suited to his risk-taking DNA. Aggression brings its share of backlash. At Mugello, some fans booed his Italian GP sprint win, drawing public defense from Ducati boss Davide Tardazzi. With rivals, you have to take the good with the bad, and when they say bad things to me, it motivates me. Marquez channels negativity into a performance boost, using boos and barbs to sharpen his focus rather than dull his resolve. So far in 2025, Marquez has converted that instinctual approach into 8 Grand Prix victories and 11 sprint wins over 12 rounds, a level of consistency unprecedented in his career. The stats underline his claim: instinct isn't just gut feeling, it's honed through thousands of laps, countless pressure cooker moments, and an unwavering belief in his own judgment. At 32, Marquez stands on the brink of what could be his most dominant season ever. Yet he remains wary of complacency. I didn't know how to do it any other way. I rode by instinct. I still ride by instinct. As the championship roars toward its conclusion, Marquez's blend of raw reflex and seasoned savvy promises to keep rivals guessing, and highlight why instinct has driven his career from the very start. In an era of simulation and data-driven precision, Marc Marquez's confession is refreshingly old school: trust your gut. With championships on the line and critics all around, the reigning leader's instinct remains his most potent weapon, and the key to a legacy few can match. In May, while still recovering from injury, Jorge Martin made headlines by visiting the French GP to notify Aprilia that he was invoking a performance clause to leave the team at the end of 2025. His goal? secure a new seat for 2026. What followed was an intense standoff. Aprilia maintained the clause wasn't valid, while Martin's camp insisted they had a legal right to part ways. By the Dutch GP, Martin's manager publicly declared him free of contract, a move that escalated tensions and prompted Aprilia to threaten legal action. Martin's maneuver triggered backlash from fans, who criticized him for attempting to escape a deal despite having barely ridden in 2025 due to injury. Fans are the engine of our sport. But at some point I can understand their opinion. I did what I thought was better for my life, for my future, and that's it. I hope some of them will come back to my side. Jorge Martin's statement. While acknowledging the importance of fan support, Martin also emphasized the deeply personal nature of career decisions in MotoGP's high-stakes environment. Despite being the aggrieved party in the dispute, Aprilia publicly voiced discomfort over the negative treatment Martin received online. According to a team spokesperson at Silverstone, Aprilia was not pleased with how the situation played out on social media and defended Martin's dignity, even while fighting to hold him to his contract. Martin returned to action at the Czech GP before the summer break, climbing from 12th on the grid to finish 7th, an encouraging result after his extended layoff. Actually, I don't really look into the criticism. I just stay focused on my people and my family to be strong. Martin earlier statement. It's clear Martin is tuning out the noise and refocusing on performance. At Brno, he showed flashes of the form that made him world champion last year, while also reaffirming his commitment to Aprilia through the end of 2025. Despite the dispute, Martin insists relations inside the garage remain strong. I feel at home with the team. Martin, Brno quote. That comment reflects a shift in tone, suggesting Martin is ready to reset and move forward, with one eye still on the long game for 2026. For now, Jorge Martin stays in the Aprilia camp, but the drama has left its mark. While some fans remain critical, Martin's measured response and his performance at Brno suggest a rider determined to reclaim both results and reputation on his own terms. Ezpeleta opened the discussion by focusing on growth, arguing that merging two marquee events could unlock fresh markets. Everything is worth trying once, especially when it comes to bringing MotoGP to a new target audience. Carlos Ezpeleta's statement. With F1 sold out in many venues and MotoGP similarly thriving, a crossover could leverage both brands' momentum, if executed without diluting either's core appeal. Despite the allure, there are practical limits, chief among them, track capacity and spectator infrastructure. At the same time, we can't double the capacity on site if we bring both racing series to one track. Two world-class grids demand grandstands, paddocks, and hospitality on an unprecedented scale, raising questions about parking, concessions, and even restroom access. Ezpeleta stressed that while crossover could spark curiosity, it must respect each fanbase's distinct preferences. We have a significantly different demographic among MotoGP and Formula One fans. We also have to pay very close attention to what our fans want. From the roar of V6 engines to the shriek of 1,000 cubic centimeters bikes, maintaining the unique sensory experiences of each series is non-negotiable. One of the most MotoGP-specific challenges lies in air fence deployment, essential for rider safety but foreign to F1 protocols. There are some limitations, like the air fences. Setting them up and dismantling them between sessions could make the process quite complicated. These inflatable barriers must be erected before each bike session and removed for car sessions, posing a major scheduling and manpower puzzle. With both series under Liberty Media's umbrella, expectations are high for cross-pollination, yet Ezpeleta warns against over-engineering the spectacle. I think we have a lot to expect from Liberty. It's important that both racing series remain authentic as they are. Any synergy must enhance, not eclipse, the traditions that riders and fans cherish, F1's strategic pit stops and MotoGP's wheel-to-wheel audacity. While no dates or venues have been confirmed, Ezpeleta indicated that Dorna is actively evaluating scenarios, from European classics to untapped territories. "We've already evaluated a few things in the past, but we're still willing to consider it." As MotoGP heads into its post-acquisition era, the potential for crossover events underscores the sport's ambition and its willingness to pioneer new formats. Carlos Ezpeleta's "worth a try once" mantra signals MotoGP's readiness to experiment, without losing sight of what makes 2- and 4-wheel racing so electrifyingly different. With Liberty Media watching, the dream of a shared F1/MotoGP weekend may yet shift from concept to calendar, provided capacity, safety, and spirit all fall neatly into place. Yamaha's decline from title winners to mid-pack strugglers has been stark. After coming close again in 2022, the years since have exposed the limits of its traditional inline-4 configuration. While Quartararo has shown flashes of brilliance in 2025, 4 poles and 2 podiums, the gap to Ducati remains a chasm. In a move long anticipated, Yamaha is now developing a V4 engine for the first time in its MotoGP history, a dramatic shift away from its signature inline-4. It's pretty clear that being the only one with a certain kind of configuration, we had to take a bold decision, which we took, Paolo Pavizio said. The V4 layout, used successfully by Ducati, KTM, Honda, and Aprilia, offers key performance advantages in acceleration and compactness. But Yamaha must start from scratch. Officially, the V4 is aimed at the 2027 regulations when MotoGP switches to 850 cubic centimeters. However, Yamaha hopes it might be ready as early as 2026, though nothing is guaranteed. "We're still not sure that we'll race in 26 with the V4 machine, even if this is clearly the target." The backup plan? Run the current inline-4 in 2026 and only switch to the V4 once it's competitive. Yamaha is now engaged in a dual-engine development program, fine-tuning the 2025 bike while simultaneously designing 2 future machines, for 2026 and 2027. "We are developing a bike for 26, and we are also in parallel working on the bike for 27. That means twice the engineering, testing, and investment, but also a chance to future-proof their factory project." Yamaha has already begun private tests of the V4 prototype. Early results? Promising, but still off the mark in terms of outright pace. Insiders say that while the V4 shows potential in handling and stability, it currently lacks the speed to dethrone Ducati's refined power plant. Pavizio was clear, staying with the inline-4 alone would have meant staying in the midfield. The V4 is Yamaha's ticket back to title contention. "It's complex, it's exciting, but it's also needed if we want to be back where we want to be." In a paddock dominated by V4s, Yamaha's reinvention could be the biggest engineering shakeup since Ducati introduced desmodromic valves. Yamaha's MotoGP reboot isn't just about a new engine, it's about restoring a legacy. With the V4 project in motion and eyes set on 2026 and beyond, the path forward may be uncertain, but for the first time in years, it's full of purpose. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!